Hi guys, before you go into the live, I thought I'd just tell you about the fundraiser that I'm doing for my granddad in memory of him. I am running 65k in 13 days, 5k every day, and every single kilometre that I do is a year that my granddad was dementia-free, Alzheimer's-free. It was a horrible illness, took him away from us too soon. He was my best mate. So yeah, it's a tough task. I'm training for it at the moment. So yeah, I'm starting on the 16th of November and it'll be going for 13 days from then. It's going to be a tough, hard challenge, but I know that it'll be a good one because all the money that I do make will be going towards Alzheimer's research to try and find a cure for this horrible disease that took my granddad away from me. There will be a GoFundMe page going out on Monday the 9th of November, so whenever you're watching this, I imagine it'll be up. So yeah, the link will be in the description of this live that you're watching now. So if you could donate even £1, it'll mean so much to me, and I know it would mean so much to my granddad if you could see the people donating for him, and also I know it'll mean a lot to the guys at Alzheimer's Research to try and find a cure. So yeah, thank you guys, and if you can donate, the link will be in the description. Enjoy the live, guys.
Good evening and welcome to the
What was that?
MCC. Just a little surprise I had for you.
Very nice.
I've been working.
And do you know what though, Martin? I'm sure, and that's one I'm sitting down next to you, which sort of shows you what sort of size you are.
That's the one where you're an Aston Villa fan, mate. I was outside. I was at Wembley. Good evening, I'm Doom. And there is the Ginger Gloom. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. You?
I've had better evenings. I've had better evenings.
Before we start, I just want to say, condolences to everyone, Ray Clements, Tottenham, on especially Liverpool and his family and everything. It's a sad day, really, for those two clubs and obviously for his family because he was an absolutely outstanding goalkeeper.
Yeah, big prayers and thoughts with Ray Clements. And also, Des O'Connor, believe it or not, has passed away today.
Yeah.
So actually, you're laughing. It's you in your face. It's like, yeah. Come on, mate. So, tell us all about our guest.
Okay, well,
for us.
I've got our 3 facts, Martin. The last one might be a bit of a giveaway, but I shall. Let's go through them. So tonight's guest father was born in Cheadleham and emigrated to Australia in the 1950s. Our guest played professional Aussie Rules football in the AFL, and for the last 20 years, they've been an artist.
Any guesses in the comments? Andy's asking what that was. The intro that I made. Leave it with me. I've been playing around. Any guesses? No? They're all just saying hi, doom and gloom. Should we bring him in?
Yes.
I want to bring in, and please, I said to you last night, we are not trying to get half of Australia on this channel. We're not. But someone who very, very good at his profession. And I'm going to let him talk all about it. The one and the only Jamie Cooper. How are you, buddy?
Hi, guys. I'm doing okay down here. Things are warming up down here, so, and we've just come out of 14 weeks lockdown, so things are looking up. But sorry to hear that things are going the other way for you guys. It's not good.
No, it's not great at the minute, Jamie. It's a little bit scary. And, and the weather's crap as well. So, yeah, it's not so great.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for coming on. It's a real honour for us to have you here. And Martin, are you going to do a few hellos before we start, or?
Yeah, can do.
Okay.
As we said, I've got to go right back up. Riley Taylor is on. Good evening. John Grogan is on. Hello, buddy. Hope you're good. Zagon is on. Hello. Hope you're all well. Andy Blooming is normal. Good evening, Martin and Chris. Hope both you are well. Andy wants to know what that was. Told you. Doopy says, what an intro. I know. Doopy, hi. Badly made content. Hello, doom and gloom. Robert Lang, hello, doom and gloom. It's not Alan. Someone said it's Alan. It's not Alan. That intro was funny. No, it's not Spencer Pryor. Andy says, hello, Jamie.
Hello, Andy.
Andy Blue Moon, hi, Jamie, and welcome. And Andy says, thanks for coming on again. Yes, you didn't know, Andy and Jamie have already done a video on the channel to talk about the latest artwork, which we'll get into later on. I'll let Jamie talk about it, but fire away, Mr. Gloom.
All right, Jamie, so let's start. So your dad emigrated over to Australia in the 1950s. What are your memories of him and his connection to City?
Well, obviously, moving such a long way away from home, he missed everything that was reminded him of, his homeland. So I used to hear the Goon Show, the Goodies, and Manchester City. So he was a massive fan as a boy, and he used to go to Main Road and had great memories of that. So I used to hear all about the guys from back in the 40s and 50s, and Swift and Bert Troutman was his favourite. But then Summerby, Lee, Oakes, Young, Tony Book, that whole era is what I grew up ringing in my ears, along with Spike Milligan and the rest of that lot. So lots of great memories, and obviously it was a pretty good time for the 60s and 70s. Things are really starting to happen, and he felt. I think that was the thing that kept him feeling attached to home.
So, did you follow City as well, or was that not a passion of yours?
Well, no. I was born in Australia, of course. Aussie Rules was the game back for me when I was a kid, and cricket. But I always had, and because back in those days there wasn't TV broadcasts and hardly even radio, so it was all through letters from his family and a bit of radios and a bit of news. So I was always hearing about it, but I must admit my focus was as an Australian rules fan. But Man City's been a constant in my life all the way through. And I think when I got my first commission with the club, my dad was so tickled pink, because he helped me research half of it. He said, finally, I can yap onto you endlessly about these guys that I grew up on. So that was a really great thrill for me. And he was even going to come over and present the painting to the club with me, but fell ill at the time and sadly passed away. So that was a real shame that he wasn't around to enjoy that. But I'm sure wherever he is now, he's still pretty chuffed.
Yeah. Good. So you talked about, the people you mentioned, a lot of big icons there from Manchester City. Who were your dad's sort of favourites? Who were the ones that he would love and talk about the most? Oh, is that you?
Yeah, it's me, mate. Sorry.
Silent.
It wasn't silent.
Go on, Jamie. Sorry.
As I said, Bert Troutman was his, because he was a young fellow during the war, my dad, and the story of how Bert was able to be a bloody paratrooper, and then through the, not just how, obviously he was a great footballer, but he was actually, from all reports, a man of great integrity. And to be able to win over the English community straight after a world war, and remain in the good graces of the football community all the way through the rest of his life was just an amazing story. So I knew all about him before I was commissioned for the Dream Scene. But
did he tell you all about Bert Troutman and the broken neck in the final?
Oh, yeah. Oh, obviously, 56 FA Cup. And that great big plaster thing that they had on his head for days afterwards, pretty amazing effort. And he was actually knocked out completely, and then came to and then continued on. And he must have known there was something seriously wrong. Yeah. So, no, amazing. But I think Dad also loved, Mike Summerby, just because of the character of the guy, and, they never say die, that aggressive, confronting attitude and sort of stick it up to everyone else. And my dad sort of loved a bit of that. So I used to hear that name a lot as well. And Colin Bell, just a class act. He used to always rave on about the pedigree of Colin Bell, that he was just not only a great footballer, but great role model, and would run all day. But he had class. He had everything.
Yeah, he was a true legend of the club, no doubt in that. So let's get into your painting then. When did you discover that you were such a good artist?
So to be honest with you, that's what I've always done. Even as a kid, you know, I used to paint on my bedroom walls and on my school books. When I was in maths class, I was doing caricatures of the teacher, and you know, thank God I ended up doing it as a job, because I don't know what I'd do if I didn't. But I was always interested in sport and art. So I was, even as a kid, you know, I'd draw my favourite football players when I was 5 years old. And I never imagined that it would be something that would take me around the world and become a full-time career. So, you know, I couldn't be happier.
Good. How did you get into, I just want to come back a little bit to the Aussie Rules. How did you get involved with Aussie Rules? What was it that led you down that road?
Well, as I said, here in Australia, that is the game. And, you know, English football, as we would call it here, was, back when I was a kid, there was hardly anybody playing it. Now it's one of the fastest growing sports in Australia, and has been for the last 10 years or so. But when I was a boy, it was almost, you know, it just wasn't around. It was just Aussie Rules. So I always played it when I was a kid. And then, you know, as you do, I just kept going up through the system and was lucky enough to make it to the professional level. But that was my whole life, you know, like as an English kid would be, if they get half a sniff that they can make it to the top level, that's all you think about, you know, day and night. So that's I just went that way and played till I retired when I was pretty young. I was about 23.
No, I take it that's through a bad injury.
That and being no good at it. No, I had a few injuries, but I was just an in and out player. I played about 4 seasons and never really cemented it. But I was always interested in my artwork as well. So I was going to uni doing a graphic design degree, and I was playing football. And I wasn't a good enough footballer to not devote my whole life to it. And that's what my coach said. Right, when I sat down with him, I had a groin injury and I had to have an operation. And he sat down at the end of the year and he said, look, he goes, we'll give you 1 more year, but it's make or break. And he said, you're not the first picked in the team. So if you want to make it in this game, you've got to just devote your entire next 10 years and devote your whole life to playing football and nothing else. Yeah. And I was 22, 23. I loved doing my artwork. All my friends had gone off backpacking around the world. I was getting postcards from the Greek islands saying, when are you coming over? So that's what I did. I retired, had the operation, retired, put a backpack on, and I went backpacking for about 4 years, just wandering around aimlessly.
Wow. Brilliant. I was like I said before we actually came on there, I've only ever seen 1 game of Aussie Rules, and I can't understand how it isn't more popular outside of Australia. I thought it was a brilliant game, and I think over here now with football, it has become a bit, you know, they fall over at the, you know, as soon as they're touched, it's just a. No, I'm going to say it's a bit girly.
A bit of a
yeah, it is. But you watch Aussie Rules, and it is just proper, you know, physical game with, I mean, a lot of skill involved as well. Don't get me wrong, but I find it interesting that, you know, like American football has, although it's not huge over here, you know, if they play at Wembley Stadium, they'll get 80,000, 100,000, I suppose, go over to watch it. I just, you know, any thoughts on why Aussie Rules hasn't sort of progressed outside of
I don't know. I mean, they've tried to. They've had exhibition games on in London and in China, in the US, and it has a following around the world on TV. But and there are leagues around the world. Like when I went backpacking, I played for the Philadelphia Hawks over in America. They've got their own Aussie Rules, but it's not. It's just social. It's never really taken off. But it isn't. The thing I like about the game is that it's 360 degrees. There's no offside. Yeah, you can use your hands and your feet. You can use any part of your body. You can kick it backwards, sideways, forwards. It's full contact, but there's a lot of running and flowing. So I think, as I said to you in the intro, when I was backpacking around, people would say, what's this game? And I would be happy to sit there over a few beers and talk endlessly about it was the greatest game in the world. And then they say, okay, what about cricket? And I'd say, don't worry about it. I'm not going to try and talk you into cricket. If you don't know what it is, I love it. But how can you 5 days of a game with no guaranteed result. Doesn't make any sense. But no, Aussie Rules are very interesting.
That doesn't happen very much these days, though, does it? Usually they're over in 3 days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
Andy Blimmin says, us Brits are too soft, Jamie, for Aussie Rules.
when I first came over to the UK, I did a job for Hull Kingston Rovers.
All right.
And they were talking to me about, what rugby league players say about, football players and vice versa. And one quote was that stuck with me was, we spend 90 minutes trying to pretend we're not hurt, and they spend 90 minutes trying to pretend they are.
Yeah. That's
but I got to say that listening to my dad talk about football and not seeing a lot of it live when I was a kid, since I've been doing these jobs for various clubs in the UK and coming over and watching the games live, the skills that are on display are bloody amazing. De Bruyne's passing, like pinpoint passing, running this way, kicking diagonally across the ground, siding through about 4 or 5 opposition players to put it right on the spot for someone to run onto. Yeah. Amazing. And the one touch football, which I think Man City's been, doing so well over the last 5, 6, 10 years. Yeah, really, really great to watch.
Yeah, I think as well over here as well now is the pitches are just sensational. Whereas back in the 60s and 70s, you couldn't play that kind of football really.
Playing on
mud baths, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, I've been to a number of the stadiums now, and they've got sort of synthetic woven with the real grass, and it's like space age technology. In fact, the whole stadium are like spaceships.
They are. Yeah, the football has moved on. I think since sort of '96 when the Euros came from, then stadiums have just progressed and progressed. But if you look at some of the stadiums that they're building now in the States, you wonder if that will come over here because they are just unreal.
Yeah, it's not about shine hours.
Yeah,
Andy, I've put here, I love Aussie Rules, always been an Essendon fan. I'm going to be very ignorant here. Who are they?
Now they're one of the big clubs here. Not my club, but one of the big clubs here. Although they've been in a bit of trouble lately with a bit of doping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they put their players on this supplements program.
All right.
Be a little left of centre, but no, a great club have always been a great club.
No wonder Andy likes them then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So,
no, wasn't that one. Andy Blooming says, "Do you keep in touch with Melbourne City?"
Yeah, a little bit, because I think when I first, how I got the job to do the Dream Scene a few years back was through Melbourne City, and I knew through my AFL contacts. Knew the part owner of Melbourne City when they were first formed, which was Bart Campbell, who had teamed up with his company and Man City joined to help create it. And, for a guy from Australia with some weird artistic idea to try and get the attention of big clubs like Man City and, I won't mention Liverpool and it's not easy. It took me 5 years just to get my foot in the door, because why would they want to listen to some weird idea about some painting of different, they got other important things to do. So through that contact, the part owner of Melbourne City said, look, he also owns Melbourne Storm, and I did a job for Melbourne Storm. And he goes, hey, the CEO of Man City's coming out in a few weeks. Would you like me to present your idea to him? I said, yeah, because I haven't had any luck getting through to him via my channels. So he actually presented the whole idea straight to the CEO. So for me, that's the golden ticket. How I would never get access to, a big football club like that. So that's how it came about. And he loved the idea. And then here we are. So yeah.
So the City one wasn't your first team that you did, was it?
No.
Are you saying earlier on? So we go back to Philadelphia again here. With the Phillies. Tell us how you got into that.
Well, that was quite a saga. I've been doing these Dream Scene paintings for AFL clubs here for 15 years. Yeah. And it was, that turn of the century, all our clubs were announcing their teams of the century. So players from all different eras put together. And I just went, as a football fan, I thought, wouldn't it be great if they were all alive together? And imagining going out to play a game together or having just won a game. It's what we sit around the pub and talk about. If this guy had been alongside that guy and all that. Yeah. So I thought, I could bring that to life and I could have them all hanging out and who would talk to who, what would they say, etc. So that was really successful here with the AFL clubs. And then I thought, well, this would be great to take to other sporting cultures, and I know that baseball is so closely entwined with the history and the culture of the US. I thought I'll try and knock on a few doors there, but as I said, for 5 years had no luck. And I thought I'm never going to get through to these clubs. I had a friend in Philadelphia who knew someone in the publicity department at the Philadelphia Phillies, which is a major league baseball team. They were 125 years old, and through that connection, he said, "Look, I can't promise you anything, but if you do the painting, I'll make sure it gets a viewing with our executives who have a monthly meeting when they're all there together." And again, another golden ticket for me. So he said, but no promises. So I spent 9 months doing a 14-foot long painting and without any pay and hoping that this would come off. So anyway, I finished the painting. My contact saw it. He loved it. He said, look, I'll see what I can do. I got an email and he said, can you be here next Tuesday? Now, Philadelphia is about as far away in the world as you can go from Australia, let alone with a 14-foot oil painting. So I did. I just booked a flight, rolled it up in a tube, took it across to Philadelphia, had it restretched, took it to the club for the meeting, got to the stadium, and then they said, you can't bring it in. Union rules. We're not insured. Can't allow it. I said, well, can you go and check with your boss? They went off and checked with their boss. I took the painting straight in. I'm not going 15,000 miles and then turning back when I'm at the door. Yeah. I took it in to the foyer, and then we couldn't get it up the stairs because the meeting room was up 3 flights of stairs and the painting was 14 foot long. So I managed to convince one of the guys to come down before the meeting, and I talked him through, because it's got all the stories like in your dream scene. And
well, what I'm going to do, J-Matt, I'm going to bring up part of that dream scene onto the screen so people at home can see it. This is the one, part of the Philadelphia one.
Yeah, so it's a clubhouse scene, and all those guys are positioned in certain ways to tell certain stories. And so I told that story to the guy. He loved it, went upstairs, told everyone in the executive meeting. They all came down afterwards. And then before I know it, the owner of the Phillies has come down and had a look at it. And he said, love it. Yeah, what are we doing with it? I said, well, it's for sale. He said, how much? I said, $65,000 US. He goes, how long are you in town for? I said, 2 days. He goes, so you want me to make a decision on a $65,000 painting I've never seen before in 2 days? He said, nah, forget it. So that was it. And they said, right, take the painting away. And I said, nah, I'm not taking it away. Just leave it here. Just leave it, put it in a storeroom, put it up on that wall there. You can just leave it there and have a think about it, because they were just leading up to the World Series. They were too busy. So I managed to convince them to leave it on the wall. And in the time between then and the end of the season, so many people came past and were commenting about it and said they loved it. Then before you know it, they bought it. So that, for me, was my ticket in the door, because then I could come over to the UK and say I've done work for the Philadelphia Phillies, because no one knows who the AFL teams are. Yeah. And the Phillies job led on to a job with the Yankees. So then I came over to the UK and again had to email Manchester City and say, look, and I'd sort of been speaking to people via email for about 2 or 3 years before that, and said, if I come over and present this idea to you, would you give me a meeting? And that's what happened, and it went from there.
Wow. Well, what I'm going to do, Jamie, I'm going to bring up 1 or 2 little portraits. We want to give us a little behind the scenes about these paintings and these portraits. I'm just going to bring up, first one I'm going to bring up is the All-Stars that I thought was amazing, which is this one, which people can now see on their screen.
Can you name them all, Martin?
Not got a clue. Go on, Jay, if you want to give us some background on this.
Yeah, this was another really interesting job. From the Yankees painting, a collector in the US saw it and loved it, wanted to buy it, but the painting went to an auction and there was a number of other items there. And this particular collector was interested in my painting and a Lou Gehrig baseball bat. Lou Gehrig's a contemporary of Babe Ruth back in the 1930s, 40s. And he bought the baseball bat for $500,000 and thought that was enough for one night.
Wow.
Crazy. The collectors over there are insane. So he then contacted me a few weeks later and said, well, maybe I should just commission you to do the painting for me. All my favourite players from throughout. He's a baseball aficionado and historian, and so he follows the game across the board. So he chose his 25 or so favourite players from throughout history, and he wanted me to put them into an All-Stars game, which started in 1933 at Comiskey Park in Chicago. So he said, and he was like a fanatic, like what do you call it? Like details, every detail had to be perfect. So he said, you need to recreate Comiskey Park as it was in 1933. So I had to go back and research the seats and what bolts they used on the seats and everything. And he wouldn't accept anything less. And I found out why when I went to his house. Eventually, I delivered the painting. He lived in a mountaintop outside San Jose in California. I didn't have any idea. He just said, bring it over. He wanted it framed to museum standard with gold leaf framing, and it was just like, who is this guy, you know? So we ended up taking the painting in a truck up to his address, didn't know, up through the mountaintops, kept going and going right to the very top to a Spanish villa that was at the top of the mountain with landscape gardens and swimming pools. And I went into his house and he's got like a study. And in that study, there's about $10 million worth of baseball bats. There's a letter from Jackie Robinson, you know, Jackie Robinson, the first black baseball player. The letter he wrote to the LA Dodgers, I think it was, to the president about accepting the terms to come and play as the first black man to ever play the game, like handwritten, his letter. Like he's got the most amazing collection of stuff. So that was awesome. That was a really great experience.
And I'm gonna bring up the city ones near the end because I know that's what everyone is getting into. But I'm gonna bring up this one, the Leeds United one.
Yeah.
Now, there's some. I mean, there's some of them I didn't see, like the Don Revie, but I saw Viduka, Gordon Strachan, Nigel Martin, Tony Yeboah. How did this one come about, Jamie?
That was I did a job for Sheffield Wednesday about 3 or 4 years ago for their 150th anniversary. And the people at Leeds saw that. And then obviously they had their centenary celebration last year. So they contacted me on the back of that.
Wow. And that is amazing. The detail in there is amazing. And then the one that you said got you in, did you mention Melbourne Storm, didn't you?
Yeah.
We have got the Melbourne Storm one there.
That was their Team 20. That was their 20th anniversary. They're the best players from the last 20 years. As you can see, all the different jerseys that they're wearing are from the different eras of the club. Pretty amazing history in 20 years that they've had. So that was a lot of fun to do that. And, of course, that was the contact that got me through to you guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the detail in the trophy to, you know, the players' abs, to everything in that changing room. It's just the detail is absolutely out of this world. It really is. Thanks.
Yeah, trophies take the longest to do of everything. There's so much reflection and stuff. But, yeah, I love all those details. I just love bringing that to life, you know, because it just gets your imagination going. Like the dream scene for you guys was such a pleasure to do because I was able to wander back through the history of the club, back before my dad telling me about, because he started at sort of Frank Swift time, but then going back even further to Eric Brooks and right back to Billy Meredith, you know, and finding out all the origins of the history of the club. It's a really fun thing to do, and you learn a hell of a lot. And you realise every club's got an amazing story.
Oh yeah, that's true. I remember when I first saw the Dream Team, It was just like, I don't know, it wasn't just the detail in the picture, but it brought back the memories, and you have all those hidden sort of little things within for each player and everything, you know.
Well,
This is incredible.
What I'm trying to do, Chris, is tell a story. You know, not just do a painting of all those guys standing there. I want them to try and tell the story of the club. So for me, that whole painting was all about Vincent reaching across to Billy Meredith and shaking hands, because that's one end. That they're two bookends of the history of the club, and shaking hands and uniting and sort of saying, look where we've come. Look what's happened between you and me, from you to me. Look what's happened, and here it is. Now, you never ever get the whole story in one painting, but it evokes that feeling. And I'm not pumping up my own tyres, because I'm a footy fan too. So when I see the history of a club, even if it's one I don't support, all there, it evokes a lot of nostalgia, and it's kind of cool. And everyone, that was one of the things that people told me, you know, Man City has no history and all that. What a load of crap.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
Well, I'm just going to bring up the very first dream scene. There you go there with Company in the middle. Over to Billy Meredith. You've got Joe Hart. You've got Mickery. Everyone's in there.
Yeah. Mike, well, he was another one of my dad's favourites, Bleeding Blue Blood.
Mike Doyle.
Micah Richards washing his mouth out with soap and water. You got Joe Corrigan in the bell, and the sprig of is it rosemary? I can't remember what it was in his mouth.
Yeah, it was the heather, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, and then one of my other favourite stories, and that is Tony Book. You know, Malcolm Allison, who's one of my favourite managers. I know one of the questions you guys had was about Pep and who's the greatest and all that. I just thought Malcolm Allison was such a groundbreaker, you know, with his attitude towards things. And he was flamboyant. He thought outside the box. And one of his little outside the box stories, I don't know whether it's myth or it's true, but he recruited Tony Book, brought him with him, I think, from Canada, I think it was. And the club at the time had a policy of not recruiting anyone over 30. And he was 32, and Malcolm really wanted to bring him on board because he had a young group of players and he needed some older, steadier heads. So he said he had a birth certificate back in the old days, you know, printed on paper, and right where the birth year was on the crease line. He said, just keep creasing it until you can't really see what it is. And so in the painting, Malcolm is holding the birth certificate, and Mercer and Pep and Roberto were having a bit of a laugh about his cleverness.
So did you get to...
Everyone's in there.
Yeah.
Jamie, did you get to choose who to put in it, or were you sort of advised?
No, that's not my job. It's not my job to tell you what your history is. My job is to be briefed by the club and then put my interpretation on that. So the club will tell me all the players, all the stories, and then it's up to me to put them together in a way that's interesting and tells that story the best. It goes backwards and forwards for about 3 months, you know, for example, I had Richard Dunn and Yaya Toure were Richard Dunn was handing him a slice of birthday cake on a plate, and Yaya was handing Richard Dunn a red card. And I said, it's a bit, you might upset Yaya, or just put the birthday cake up in his locker and keep it, keep it a bit more subtle, So there's all those sorts of things that go backwards and forwards, and that's the part, in fact, I love the most. I love painting it, but I love just designing the story. So same as in the one I've just done of the team of the decade that people may have seen.
Yeah, this is the latest one.
That was kind of me. That was a different thing altogether. That's a moment of joy. To me, that is just pure celebration and joy of an incredible era. So I wanted to capture them all in those moments of, that final whistle when it hits you that you've won. Well, it's kind of an imaginary thing because it's obviously from different moments. But we wanted to choose as best we could moments that were significant to the players individually, like Zaba, in the Champions League when he kicked scored that late goal. Everyone knows that moment. Carlos's ear celebration, Joe Hart, against QPR. They're all moments that all the fans remember, but here they are all brought together in one moment. To me, that just says, I know people go backwards and forwards about what's the best year and all the money that's come into the club and all that. Who cares? As a fan, you've had all those moments of joy as Man City fans, and I've tried to capture that in one moment. So I've thrown in the smoke and the confetti and the streamers, and it's a party. It's a celebration.
Yeah.
Well, it brings a smile to your face, doesn't it? Just looking at it, it brings back great memories.
Zeko and Kolarov at the Derby, the 6-1 at the Old Trafford.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You just look at, and this is the one that you and Andy did a video on the channel, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went through all those moments that the players were chosen in, and why we chose that, and why wasn't Aguero doing the 93-20. We did that in the dream scene, so I wanted to do a different one. Yeah.
There's the dream scene.
We've seen that image so many times. I just wanted to get a different moment. Him passing the club record of goal scoring, I thought was significant.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
How did the second one come about? Were they just happy with the first one, and did they approach you back?
Well, I got a 3-year licensing contract to be able to do this project. And then the dream scene went so well. I said, well, look, we've still got 2 years left on your contract, so why don't we just do another one? And there's been so many great things. So I'm really pleased to say that the club has asked me to do one each year for the next 3 years. Brilliant. And this is something that maybe you and your followers could help with. What should those 3 things be? I've spoken to the local branch of the supporters club here in Melbourne, and I've asked them, what are some great moments? I want to do a great moment in the history, one great particular moment that perhaps there isn't an image of. And I was told about the ballet on ice.
Right, okay.
And I thought, wouldn't that be an amazing image? Nighttime, under the lights, with snow. And there was a couple of goals that were scored that involved some of the really significant players. I think Franny Lee, Summerby might have been. I can't remember, but I could recreate one of those. Wasn't it a 4-3 win against?
I think it was 4-1 against Tottenham.
4-1 against Tottenham.
Yeah.
So I want to recreate one of those goals.
Paul Dickoff at Wembley in '99.
Yes. Well, that's in the dream scene behind me there.
Yeah.
I want to get some input from City fans about what those next projects be, and is there a moment in time in the club's history, like Dickov's, or the ballet on ice, or whatever it might be, that there isn't really an image of, and I can actually recreate it.
Yeah, I've got one. Jamie Pollock's own goal. That was a thing of beauty.
Andy's got one. Told you, Jamie, Blackburn away. Has he mentioned that one to you before?
Who?
Blackburn away. Andy's mentioning about Blackburn away, Blackburn Rovers. Man City won 4-1 at Blackburn Rovers and got promoted that day. And there was about 20,000 Manchester City fans on the Blackburn pitch.
Yes. The guy from Melbourne branch did tell me about that. And I remember thinking, well, how would I make that as an image? But look, there's so many great moments, but I would love to get some input from you guys and your followers about what they could be. So I could do one a year for 3 years. I thought it'd be nice to do an individual player too.
That was a great one.
Company goal against Leicester.
Yeah.
Or against United.
I think Andy said the crowd scene is talking about. But like you said, I know some of these. But what we'll do is, guys, if you want to if you could put them now to Jamie, or pop them into the comments down below, me or Andy will email these ideas over to Jamie, and we'll get them emailed over to them. So if you can't do them live now and you're watching it back, shame on you. You should be watching it live. I hope you've not been watching England. Should be watching Jamie being interviewed. That's poor, because they've got beat. Stick them in the comments down below, and we'll gather them up, me, Chris, and Andy, and we will get them off to Jamie for him to consider. But I think that's a great idea.
Did you meet any of the players, Jamie?
Yeah, before I did the dream scene, I met with Vincent and had a chat with him. That was great. He's a top fella. So he gave me a bit of insight into some of the players' little idiosyncrasies in the change room and how they could be depicted. So that was really good, because I would never have known. And then I had to say, well, what is it about you then that I could put in there, that other players would perhaps rib you about, And he said, I read a lot. So his locker is full of Belgian philosophical books, and his favourite walk, which is Mandela's Walk to Freedom. So if you look really closely, it's in there in his locker. But that was a great thrill to meet him. Oh, and when we came over and we unveiled the painting at Etihad Stadium, and I met Colin Bell. Again, I wish my old man could have been. He was going to come with me, and we had lunch. I sat and had lunch with Colin Bell, Tony Book. Who else was there? Oh, George Kincladsey.
Oh, whoa.
Gorgie. He didn't say much. He didn't say. Yeah. So that was a great thrill.
That'd be a good one. The George Kincladsey goal. Have a look.
Southampton.
2-1 against Southampton, and he took on about 8 players and chipped it over the goalkeeper at the end. And he won goal. I think it once came second in goal of the season that year. Should have won it.
You could have an upside down Ferrari in the background.
Yeah, well, you know what? That was in the painting. In the dream. He had some red Ferrari keys up in his locker. They asked me to take that out.
I wonder why. So what have you got apart from obviously this 3-year? You got this thing with City. Is there any other stuff in the pipeline? You might want to keep them secret, or have you got?
No, not secret. No, I'm talking to Liverpool. Sorry to say that word, but for next year, to celebrate the win of this last season just gone.
I've got an idea for that, Jamie. Put a big A and a big R in the middle of it, and you call it VAR.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I could put that in really, really subtly and not even let them know.
No wonder they call us bitters.
I've done that before in jobs. I did one here. We have got 2 big rivals here, and one of their nicknames is the Magpies, and the other one's the Blues. And I did the dream scene for the Blues. And they had their premiership cups up on the lockers. And one of my mates, when we were sitting around having a beer after I'd finished it, was the first ever job. And they said, "Oh, you should have a dead magpie hanging with its broken neck out of one of the cups." I said, "Well, I don't think the club would like that." But then there was one guy up the front with his foot on the ground. So I put a couple of magpie feathers coming out from underneath the foot, like he just squashed it into the ground, you know. And that was the start of the stories, because that was my first time I'd ever done a dream scene. So it was just the players in the locker room. And then all the fans loved it. As soon as they announced that they told the Magpie story on their website, it just went crazy. So that's what got me the idea of putting all the stories in. And now, I mean, that dream scene has got like about 30 or 40 different stories woven into it, which is what it's all about.
Well, I'm just going to pop the dream scene up again, because there's some comments coming in now. And I wish I should have got a big one. There is. So there might be some suggestions. There's people talking about Dennis Law's back heel at Old Trafford. And all sorts of things coming in at the moment. And I think it's what people's personal memories that they're looking at. But guys, there are the dream scenes. I'll bring up the latest one so you can see that, just in case. Because there might be your idea, might already be in there. As you can see, company's goal is in there at the end with him celebrating. So, and then we've got other ones. Oh, I'll just take that off. There we go. That's better. Because we've got one here. Someone saying, yeah, Blackburn away, Mark Kennedy celebrating with Joe Ryle. And it was then Steve Dempster says, what about Dennis Law back heel, that goal that sent Manchester United down in 72? They're always going to want that one.
Yeah. The club's pretty sensitive about putting down their rivals, though, because we had, I think we also, in the dream set, also had Mike Summerby. I had him with the corner flag hanging out his pocket, that he blew his nose. He blew his nose, and that was against Manchester United, wasn't it? Yeah. So they said, no, don't do that. And also, G'day Franny Lee made his money out of making toilet paper after he retired. Yeah. Well, I had the roll of toilet paper. I think it's still in there. He had a roll of toilet paper on the wall behind him, and I had Manchester United logos on the little square.
Very good.
I still reckon that would be a great product, don't you? Toilet paper with the moniker of your rival on it. It's probably been done. There they are. with that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. I think that'd be a great idea. But it's funny. So Man City tell you sort of things. So you come up with loads of ideas and they've said no to them.
Some, the ones that are a little bit more controversial. So, like some of them are. You don't really want to have the Ferrari story in there. It's not that good. I know in the Philadelphia Phillies one, there was one of the players was in a car accident with coming home drunk from one of the players' weddings, and he had a Mercedes, and they wrote the car off, and he missed a year and a half of baseball. I had the Mercedes and a speeding ticket up in his locker. They said, "Now take that out." And after he retired, he went a bit off the wall, and he started believing in numerology and the Aztec calendar that we're all going to get beamed up in 2012. And I had the dice with the numbers in his locker and the alarm clock saying 2012. I said, take that out. You might get a little bit of salt. But there's so many. You know what though? I think it's the stories of the players that are the infamous as well as the famous stories. It's their personalities that we love, and sometimes they do the wrong thing. Yeah. And that's why we sort of love them even more, because they're human. Yeah. So I love all those naughty stories or things that they did, just tell you a bit more about what they were like off the field. But in these days of political correctness, we need to be a bit careful.
Yeah, it's so true, because as fans, you have stories about players that are generally good, but like you say, there's the odd dodgy thing that's happened, but they still resonate with fans because it's a moment of time, isn't it? But as you say, it does not surprise me in the slightest that City wouldn't want anything too controversial.
So, this is the thing: electronic disguises. This will not be allowed. Tevez with the rest in peace Fergie sign. Carlos Tevez stuck a rest in peace sign up to Alex Ferguson once. That will not be allowed.
Probably not.
Yeah, I was going to say Balotelli and the fireworks again will not be allowed. Mario Balotelli used to play with fireworks one night. It was, but like you said, it brings out the personalities, brings out the individuality of each player. But I've got to say, Jamie, your work is absolutely phenomenal. It's out of this world. Do you want to tell everyone? Because I know you've got a website, haven't you?
I do, yeah.
What about it?
It's got all my work on there from the stuff I've done with Man City as well as everything else. So if you've got relatives, uncles, aunties, or people that follow whatever sport, it's all there. But it's jamiecooperartist.com. And if you go there, you'll find everything you need to if you have an interest to do so. But I just got to say I've really enjoyed doing it. I love all the work I do because I'm a sports fan. But obviously, working for Manchester City does hold a special place for me. So I'm so delighted that it's going to be an ongoing thing with the club, and look forward to the next project.
Have you actually got a favourite one that you've done? And it doesn't have to be City, Jamie. If it's not.
No, I do. I played my team, Fitzroy, who I played for in the AFL. They did a dream scene. They asked me to do it. So that obviously, there was a number of players that I played with who were in that, and it brought me back to the community of that football club, which meant a lot to me. So that's got to be my favourite, I'd say. But I love them.
Alan sent me a picture of the Australian cricket team on, and I was just flabbergasted at some of the pictures could have been a photograph. It was just brilliant, absolutely. Yeah. He said, "Do you want me to send you a copy?" He said, "No, I'll never have it up on my wall."
Push your luck.
If it was England, then maybe.
Well, maybe one day it'll be great to do the England's greatest ever Test team. Have they ever picked the greatest Test team, the greatest English Test team?
I've never seen a picture depicting it ever. I mean, like you said, they're the conversations that you have down the pub with your mates or at work with your mates.
I'll tell you, if Jeff boycott, then I won't paint it.
Legend.
I've got one of the dream scenes as well. I've got your very first one here, Jamie. It's I'm trying to beg the missus to put it up at the moment.
In the bedroom?
Yeah, I'm trying, but she's telling me no. So I am trying.
Keep trying.
I'm trying, but your work is absolutely fabulous. And again, that is Jamie Cooper. Is it jamiecooperartist.com?
jamiecooperartist.com, yep.
Yeah, and that is where all his masterpieces are. And they are truly masterpieces. They really, really are. And I just want to say, because I'm going to wrap this up now, big thank you to Jamie for coming on. Absolute pleasure to speak to you and show us the great works of art that you've done.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate the interest in my work. So thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on, Jamie. Really,
all the best. All the best. Stay safe.
Take care, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Look forward to the next 3.
Enjoy your 4 walls for the next 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, I will be enjoying it. If everyone knows.
Just stare at the dream scene. Just stare at the dream scene. It'll get you through.
I'm in isolation for the next 14.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't.
One time. No, don't worry about it. They'll all know anyway. Everyone knows everything about me on this channel. Because
Starbucks will be going out of business.
I know, it will be. It will be. But Jamie, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure. And unfortunately, guys, that is our last one for a few weeks. We're going to concentrate back on the Friday Night Social, and what a way it has been. Our 10th latest edition of the MC Show, and what a treat it has been to have a fabulous artist in Jamie Cooper on. And also go back and look at the video. I'll stick a link in the comments below when we've ended here, and it will take you to the video that Jamie and Andy did on the latest Dream Scene that I showed you with all the players, past, present, celebrating and having a party. And it is amazing. And like Jamie said, there's going to be another one. Get your ideas in the comments below, and me, Andy and Chris will email them off to Jamie himself. And I'm sure, as long as they're not controversial, he'll be allowed to put them in. But thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Thank you very much, Chris, Gloom.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, once again. And I'd just like to thank every other guest who's been on as well during this little series we've done of the Empty Seat Show. It's been really good fun. And thanks for everyone who's tuned in to have a watch.
Yeah, it will be back. It will be back. We're just going to have a few weeks off while we get Friday Night Social sorted and back up and running and enjoying that. Oh, don't worry. We'll sort something out on a Sunday night for you. It won't be empty. Something will go in. But thank you so much. Again, have a great evening. Stay safe. Big thank you to Jamie. Big thank you to Gloom. Take care and stay safe and have a good weekend, whatever you're going to do. Oh, good start of the week. Weekend's over. I'm losing the plot because I've got 2 weeks of this. Yeah. Social Nation, thanks for the stream. Have a good night. Take care, lads. Stephen Dempsey, amazing. Jamie, totally brilliant. Doopy, thanks, Jamie, for coming on. Your drawings are the paintings, mate, are phenomenal. And Adam Quinn says, thanks, Jamie. So a lot of people are very happy that you've come on.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. So
take care. I'll see you Tuesday now. I'll be back Tuesday. Take care. And as always, up the Blues.